This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
It's true. All of it. Welcome to a live edition of Scarif Podcast. What's up, everybody? Woo-hoo-hoo. Sean.
What?
How you doing?
I'm good.
Excellent. Let's talk a little nerd stuff. I don't have to talk so weird. Jeez, what's going on over there?
That's just you.
That is just me. How's everybody doing? Look at all the people in the chat. We even got folks from across the pond. 1 a.m. over in the UK. Christian Fandom Geek. How's it going? Lunar
Thank
Girl,
you,
our Blue Wrench Girl, Megan, and we had Nick stop by earlier. I know a lot of folks are busy this Saturday night, but thanks for joining in and coming on in and saying hello there. We've got some cool stuff to talk about, and we've got some cool people to talk it with. Isn't that right?
Yes, I can't wait.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Let's see. First of all, I know. So we're going to talk about Rebels tonight. There's a couple of things that we're really going to mention. I can't believe we haven't had a Rebels discussion either live or on the pod, but it's good that you kind of were late in the game here on the Rebel watch. But I know we've had. What did we have a while ago? We had a discussion on the world between worlds. Mm-hmm. We talked about that a long time ago. And yeah,
surprised you haven't done a Rebels show.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember when it went off the air, when it was done, but yeah, we didn't do the one back then either. I know Megan is ready to talk Rebels. We've got some folks in the chat that really want to get into this, but I wanted to ask you, first of all, I watched Moon Knight again last night.
Me too.
It's what, 42 minutes?
Was it?
Because
Probably.
it seemed short.
It did seem short.
It seemed short, and when you really got into it, then the credits started to roll. So I was like, oh, I want more. But Oscar Isaac, man, what an incredible actor! I love the stuff that he's in. He's really great, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the series. And I know it's kind of a limited series. What are we getting, 4 or 6?
It's 6 episodes, and I already read that there are no further plans of like any further contracting that he has with Marvel. So
so after this, he's done, right?
I guess so. So I guess as much as I'm loving it already off of the first episode, I guess my point is, what is the point of introducing this character then? If you don't have him contracted for anything else.
Sure. I can see that, but these folks like to negotiate and renegotiate, so I doubt this is going to be the last we will see.
I'm so used to everything in the MCU connecting, so I'm kind of like, where is he going to fit in now? So exactly,
where is this going? What else? Have you been out to the theater to see Morbius?
No, I think I'm okay with waiting to hit a streaming service. I've heard it's neither good, but it's not as bad as everyone thinks it is.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing too.
I just think Jared Leto is deterring a lot of people is really what it is. More so than people not really knowing the character itself. Yeah. I really think it's more him.
Yeah, I mean, for me, he's not a big draw.
Not for me anymore.
I can take him or leave him. Mostly leave him. But Megan, thank you very much for fact-checking us. Rebels ended in 2018.
Thank you, Megan.
1 year before we started the Scarab Scuttlebutt podcast. So
look at that
kind of makes sense why we didn't do a show.
Gotcha.
Because we didn't exist. Okay. But, yeah. So let's see what else is going on. The World Between Worlds, Christian Fandom Geek. Yeah, that... we're going to touch on that a little bit. We've got some folks backstage that are going to join us. Nicole, wonderful Nicole. Look at her dancing. That's so cute. Love it. And we got Blake from Dork Wars, and we have a full house. So let's bring them in. Unless you want to talk about anything else, I know there's a lot to talk about in the nerd category, but.
I know he's not watching, but I just want to give a quick shout out to my lovely father. He officially retired yesterday. Yesterday was literally his last day of work, and he
very
said,
nice.
Peace. So congrats, Dad. You can now join my mom, who's been retired for 5 years and by herself at home. So go live life. I'm very, very happy for him. He was very happy
nice.
Today.
Well deserved.
Very well deserved.
What industry was he in? Did he retire from?
He was a zone mechanic for Miami-Dade County Public Schools system.
Oh, cool.
So basically fixing anything that needed to be fixed.
Nice. Working with your hands is always a good thing.
Very much the mechanic.
Very nice. And his mechanic and fixing thing days are not over, because I saw the Lego set that you got him.
And I must say, I am very, very thrilled that he actually loved it. And he said, no, he's like, this gift is perfect. I was looking at models earlier and this and that of stuff to put together and glue, but he said they were so expensive. This is so much cooler and so much better.
Very nice.
So he loved it. He absolutely loved it.
Excellent. And I expect some visual documentation of his progress as he starts to finish.
He already says he wants to start tomorrow.
Very
He's like
nice.
a child. He's very excited.
Awesome. All right, so looks like we got some Red Fivers backstage, so let's bring them out in a second, and we'll start talking Rebels.
This podcast is part of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts, visit red5network.com.
So cool. Thank you, Aaron, for that wonderful animation, our Red 5 animation. Aaron from WSTR Galactic Public Access. Wonderful folks over there. Fellow Chicago pods, we need more Chicago pods. We need actually all you guys just to come to Chicago. We can hang out, and no work will be done. Absolutely. So I'm going to, let's see. I'm going to unmute. I can't unmute Blake because he has to unmute himself.
Sorry, I'm here.
Excellent. And Nicole, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys today?
Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys too. I'm glad to be hanging out, talking about some Rebels. It's always fun.
Absolutely. Sounds good. And Blake, you're sporting the sports paraphernalia.
Duke.
Yeah, I'm sports balling. That's right.
Yeah, sports mode.
My Duke Blue
Excellent.
Devils are playing in about an hour, so
Excellent. We'll try to get you on time.
that's right. Yeah, well, I thought I was being something of a hero because I didn't think Ro was coming on tonight, and Chanty was scrambling for guests like earlier in the week. I guess I just won't pay attention to the chat. I don't know.
Well, when you have 300 messages, sometimes it's hard to like. Get through.
Believe me.
It really is.
You're forgiven.
Hit the air at the
I've got
bottom.
the work. I know.
But you know what's funny though, Nicole? All kidding aside, there are that many messages in our little
Yeah.
private chat, but it's funny because 3 days later, I'll see you answer something that I said like 20,000 messages ago.
Oh, she
I'm like,
runs through
wow,
them.
she runs through those.
She's
Wow.
dedicated.
Sometimes
Dedicated.
it's actually really fun and entertaining to go through our messages. And
Oh, of course.
of course, we keep special
Yeah.
notes like today, but then there's like just your funny moments that
And today seemed quiet, didn't it?
No,
Kind of? No.
no.
I'm trying to have lunch with my dad and my phone's vibrating in my pocket. I had to finally put it on Do Not Disturb.
That's too funny. So I'm going to invite folks in the chat. If you guys have any questions or comments, we're going to be talking about Rebels, go through that series. And I tweeted out earlier today, I said, Rebels looks like it is probably the best animated show ever created. I wanted, that's kind of a very extreme comment, but I think it's... some people might believe that. I think it's up there with a lot of animated. I mean, the stories, and Chanty, this Thursday we dropped the 10 top 5 most influential movies of all time, and we did talk about animation. You mentioned that while Disney was put in a corner, and basically people were telling them you can't tell stories in the animation format, which to me it just blows my mind. And yes, after Snow White, that put everybody to shame. But I mean, talk about storytelling technique, especially with Rebels. Obviously, we had the Clone Wars prior to this, but Star Wars is kind of hitting it out of the ballpark with animation when it comes to Star Wars, when it comes to story arcs, and obviously, the longer you have time to tell a story, the more complex it could be. Clone Wars started with some really great stories. And as wonderful as Clone Wars is, I'm going to ask each of you guys, as wonderful as Clone Wars is, I think Rebels might get up there with the stories that they presented, the story arcs that were present in the series. And again, Megan, if you can fact check me, I want to find out how many seasons was it? 7?
7.
7? I thought, okay, 7. That's a lot of time to tell some really great stories. I'm going to go around the room real fast, and I want to ask you guys what your favorite characters were throughout the 7 series. And obviously, Chanty, you've got the core family behind you, and I do call, I'm not gonna mince words. They really were a family when it comes down to it, when you saw the growth of each individual character and what they've gone through. We'll get into the sad moments later on because I want to see Chanty cry. But yeah, let's go with Nicole first. I want to ask Nicole what her favorite characters from Rebels are.
Oh, so real quick, Star Wars Rebels was 4 seasons, and Clone Wars was 7.
Right.
So,
That's okay.
Clear that
Excellent.
up. Like, wait, you mentioned Clone Wars. I'm like, wait.
Yeah.
All right. My personal favorite is Hera. Hera is my personal favorite because I find myself to be like her. Like, she's space mom. She's the caregiver. She's, they're just things that I really, really love about her. Of course, one of my favorite cameos, not really cameo, but guest, would be Ahsoka, because she was originally in the Clone Wars, but she ended up coming into Rebels, and I love her in as Fulcrum, and how they kind of tie the Clone Wars and Rebels together in that way. And of course, I know eventually we'll talk about story arcs, so I'll save that for later.
Absolutely, yeah. That's really cool. Blake, I'm going to come to you, and ask you what your favorite characters are of the show.
I'll tell you what, it's difficult because this show presented a lot of great characters, unique characters. I'm gonna have to go with Kanan Jarrus, Caleb Doom. I love his character. He survives Order 66 as a Padawan, and then he becomes a Jedi Knight throughout this series. And just watching his journey, start to finish, his love for Hera, everything that he became that the Jedi were not, but also he was everything the Jedi should have been. That was great for me. I love seeing him in the show. Ahsoka Tano, of course, is great, and she's not in it a whole lot. When I remember the show, I remember the bits with her in it a lot more than without, but she's not in it as much as I remembered. But she's great in there, and Ezra, I like his story arc from start to finish. So those are my three main characters that I really enjoy in this show.
Yeah, Ahsoka has a really interesting character arc, and obviously from the beginning when we first met her in Clone Wars and all the way through this series, she really has grown as a character. And I can't remember if I was even surprised when I saw her climbing down the staircase on the Ghost when she was introduced as Fulcrum, and we'll get to that in a bit. But again, some of the story arcs, especially dealing with Ahsoka. And my favorite character, who's back here, who is also seen in the show, just blows my mind. Narratively speaking, from a story perspective, the way they interacted in that show was chef's kiss, as they say. Chanty, what about you?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm actually going to mimic Nicole. We've discussed this before. Hera is definitely my girl. I loved her from the very beginning. I tend to gravitate to more feisty characters because I believe that's really how I am on the inside. So I really loved it. Kanan would be a very close second, honestly. I mean, I really did enjoy his character. And knowing beforehand that it was Freddie Prinze Jr., I wasn't sure how I was going to like. I like Freddie Prinze Jr. I just wasn't sure how I was going to like his voice acting, and I actually thought he fit very well. And then I'm gonna go and do like a Nicole. My favorite little guest spot was Hondo.
Oh yeah,
character so much. He cracks me up. I loved all of his interactions with Ezra. I love how Ezra just like looked up to him, and this was the sweetest show, a serious show, and a very humorous show. I mean, it hit so many emotional points for me. So, yeah, I definitely put this above Clone Wars, honestly. This is behind the Batman animated series.
Sure.
I mean, this is really great storytelling.
Yeah, and on this week's episode, we got a voicemail from Hondo Ohnaka. If you guys listened to the show, he congratulates us on 100 episodes and has some other comments, which are really great. Thank you, Hondo Ohnaka, for that, / Vader Rapina. Thank you so much. That's awesome. I put a question in the chat, which will get a lot of people ripping their eyes out at each other. Who's the better pilot, Han or Hera? Megan's like, bro, you can't ask that.
You can, and your answer is going to surprise me. As much as I love Han, I'm sorry, I got to give it to Hera. Yeah, I do.
Oh, my girl.
I actually felt she was more cool, calm, and collected.
Yes.
Than Han.
Han is very brash.
That's why. Yeah.
I can agree.
He's just like, you can't ask that. I love Megan.
I know, she's too funny.
Too much.
Andrew, come and join us if you can. He just popped up in the chat. Thanks, Andrew. Megan, yeah, I'm sorry. I won't ask any more controversial questions. Sorry about that. Yes, hot topic. I wanted to ask you guys about story arcs, and through 4 seasons, we had some really good ones. And obviously with any of the animations, they start out kind of, very kiddie friendly, but then as the audience grows, and we've heard, Dave Filoni kind of mentioned this, as the audience grows, the storytelling grows, the characters grow, and you see an arc with their development. You see a lot more emotion. And I think this is where Star Wars animation really shines. We get to know these characters that obviously were not live action. It really opens up. It really what? Jeez.
Totally froze. We're all looking at each other.
Carbonite.
I was frozen in carbonite.
Exactly.
Maybe
Yep.
that's the internet's way of telling me not to talk too much.
I was so ready to take over.
But going around the room, what is your favorite story arc out of the 4 seasons? Chanty, I'll start with you.
I just love anything having to do with Ezra. And me being the kind of person that has to read everything and reading Wikipedia and all sorts of things, as always, just like with Ahsoka, it really surprised me to see that people were annoyed with Ezra in the first season. And I'm like, dude, he's a 17-year-old kid. Like, give him a freaking break.
With jelly hair.
Loved his character from the very beginning. I thought he was so funny, and I like seeing characters that really evolve, and he truly, truly evolved. And you could say the same about any of them, but Ezra is the one that I really enjoyed his arc the most.
There's a lot of growth, a lot of knowledge, and especially with him trying to, to learn about the Force.
Right.
Kanan was teaching him. He got pretty close to the dark side, I think, later on in the series, and I found that very interesting. Oh, yeah. I think it was a great teaching moment, especially for younger audiences. But Nicole, how about you? Story arcs, your favorites?
Oh, favorites. So I'm one small piggyback off of Chanty, and that is when Ezra met Yoda. That However, it's not my favorite, but it's one of my favorite moments. I did like
and Yoda looks kind of creepy.
I did like the Mandalore arc with Sabine, but my absolute favorite is Ahsoka with the man behind you, Darth Vader. That moment, it still pulls at me every time. Even now, it pulls me, and I'm like glued to the TV, and I almost want to cry, and it's just amazing. It's powerful, and that's right, Kelly, our Ahsoka girl. That's just amazing between the two. And you know what? Okay, I'm going to say this is going to be me big, but we have Obi-Wan Kenobi series coming up, and I think everyone wanted to meet Ahsoka and Vader again, and I think this is almost going to be its equal. I think it's going to be just as powerful. Just throwing that out there.
You know what?
I think so,
the whole Obi-Wan Darth Maul thing, that really got me.
Yeah.
The way they wrapped up Maul's story, honestly, that actually got me in my feels for him being a villain, but somehow I ended up actually feeling very sorry for Darth Maul.
Yeah, that's the cool thing that this animation show does. It I don't know, it's powerful storytelling.
And I think they really start picking up their stride mid-second season. You can really see where they're getting into their groove. And that just, you got excited. They started really deep diving into these characters, and they just really picked it up. And I love it more than Clone Wars. I hate to admit it, but
I liked Clone Wars.
They're very different shows.
They are very different. The problem with Clone Wars is they're concentrating so much on the war itself, and there are so many characters, so many storylines. They're all doing their own thing. They're not together all the time. You lose that complete sense of family. Yeah, let me tell you something. That comment, I don't know if you saw my eyes widen a little bit.
Did.
Holy crap.
Wesley, don't do that, man.
Let me tell you, it's
Come on,
pretty
Wesley.
close. Chopper is way sassier.
I can't
than
bring him
R2.
anywhere. Can't bring him anywhere.
I do love Chopper, though. Don't get me wrong. I love when you say that, Ro.
You're probably right, Ro. You're probably right. But Clone Wars, I like what you said there, Shanti, about Clone Wars. I love Clone Wars for what it is. It's a great show, and we do get some great character stuff in there.
Definitely.
But we don't get to focus on the characters. And it's not even in sequence. Like, the Clone Wars is not even, this happened, boom, 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 boom. I mean, it's all out of time. Like,
It's
the
not
time's
linear.
not right. It's not sequential. It's weird. And that's okay. It does a great job. It's a great show. But having this core group, this core family of characters that you get to focus in on, you really get to dive into each of their characters and really hone in on what makes them great. And I think especially Kanan, Ezra, and Sabine got the best character development in this show, period.
That's
Their
why it
three arcs
surprised
were
me.
amazing.
Yeah. That's why it surprised me at how much I ended up crying during the show, because it's only 4 seasons, and I really, there was so much character development in 4 seasons that I cannot believe how connected I felt with all of them.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys, as the series progressed, it got a little more involved in Force lore. It had a lot of kind of mysterious, off-the-wall topics. You had the introduction of characters voiced by the wonderful, wonderful Tom Baker, the Bendu, which introduced kind of a weird, Force lore where he's the one in the middle. He's the I guess I can only equate Bendu to almost Marvel's The Watcher, but he's a very intriguing character, and I hope that we see more of him in some other other show, other Star Wars property, because I find him fascinating. What did you guys think of the weirdness that the show kind of started to set up in later seasons? What do you guys think?
So starting off, Tom Baker's the Bendu is amazing, just because the Bendu is like an out of whack, like offbeat character, and that's Tom Baker up and down. As a Doctor Who fan, I love Andrew. You hate the Bendu? No, man.
I think Andrew is drunk too. He's got to go home.
Oh
Not
my
feeling
gosh.
well, actually.
Everyone drinking before Scarif tonight.
Nice.
I'd like to know his reason why, actually.
But yeah, but you get into the Force lore, you get into like the Bendu, the one in the middle. He's just a Force creature, and I think there's probably other ones out there like the Bendu. I'd love to really see some stories on that. When they're finding the Jedi temples, even when they go into the Sith temple, those are things we don't see in the main movies,
Right.
And not even much in Clone Wars. A little bit, but not much, and that is why it's cool.
Yeah, I think I love all that weird Force lore stuff. And then like you said, when they go into the the Sith temple, you even see you see Ezra picking up some old lightsabers with cross guards, and you see all those burnt figures, and that something major happened there. So I love exploring all that weird stuff. Hey, Force of Light Entertainment is in here. Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for coming by. But yeah, weird Force lore stuff. Nicole, what do you think?
I think it's awesome. Again, once they started really kicking it up after like mid-season, second, third, and fourth, I mean, I just loved it. I was just eating it up with a spoon. I loved it. And Bendu is awesome. You get to go again. I'm like, Blake, like you get to go places you didn't get to go before.
Right.
And I love that they went there, like, and they gave us that other, that other opportunity. So I love that.
And I always go back to kind of pick apart the reasonings or the choices that Dave Filoni made regarding a lot of aspects of the storytelling. You've got the Bendu, you've got all the kind of the weird, off-center lore of the Force. I kind of go back and say, if it were George Lucas, how would he have taken that aspect, or where would he have drawn that from? Because as we know, he draws from, history and philosophy and those subjects. So I always try to figure out, like, where does the Bendu fit in all of that, especially when, they tell the story about the brother and the sister and the father, and obviously some very obvious religious connotations there, between those three characters. It's always interesting to me. And I think, I love Star Wars when it gets a little weird like that, because it really does make you think. Even World Between Worlds, I know a lot of people think that that story arc really didn't mean anything at the end of the day. They went in, they did their thing, they totally forgot about everything. It was as if no time is passed. But there's a lot of stuff in there that really affected Star Wars in such a weirdly profound way. Mm-hmm. Thoughts on that? Anybody?
I was going to let someone else jump in, but
I got
I
lost.
Maybe Chanty would want to.
I got lost, and then I started
But
popping into the chat. I will say though,
So
I do agree. I do agree with Andrew about the Bendu character. I liked the character, but at the same point, I didn't like the whole not picking sides thing, because at the end of the day, you're still. I always see it as you're still somebody that is part of this universe, part of this planet. You should care on some level what happens. So I can see why Andrew sees him more as a evil character than something that's a force for good.
But it's interesting though, because even I'm sorry, I'll just say this: it makes him more interesting, but it makes me want to ask what his motivation is. Is he actually not picking a side like we see? We kind of see Luke doing the same thing in The Last Jedi, but is what's his explanation? What is his reasoning? And I think a little bit of that is. And we talked about this with Alex of the Salty Nerd years ago when we did our World Between Worlds episode. We talked about how the Force isn't good or evil, it just exists, and it's man's choice or people's choice in that world. I guess it is also here. What we do with that, you can have a gun and kill somebody, and that's bad, but you can also have a gun and protect your family. So it's the choice of what do you do with that power that makes you either good or bad or however you want to pick it. Sorry, Blake, I interjected there.
Oh no, that's cool. Totally cool. It's your show, man. But the Bendu, I like the Bendu character because he does do some things in the Force. If it's affecting his area, he's going to swat it out. He's going to do what he needs to do. He doesn't take the side of the light side or the dark side. And he does train Ezra and Kanan, who are for the light side. And I think that's a little strange, because if he's not taking sides, why is he training someone to pretty much be a light side user and positively affect the universe? If you're in the middle, you don't care. But I like the fact that we have a character like that. I like the fact that he's in the middle. And he does seem impartial unless it really involves him. But I really want the backstory, kind of piggybacking off of what Rose said. His motivations. Why is he this way? Like, is he like a Force god? Is he just a Force creature? Like, what's his deal? And we obviously don't get it in Rebels. He's seen for what, maybe 3 or 4 episodes, maybe?
Something like that.
Yeah. I'm a little. I hadn't seen Rebels like in depth in a while, just back to back to back. But he's not in it a whole heck of a lot, so we don't really get his backstory. And I don't think he's going to share it with Kanan and Ezra anyway.
Right.
Yeah, he just came up a little dickish at some points, but at the end of the day, he did finally come in and essentially help.
Yeah.
People
and that's
who are
fine.
indifferent see
People are
that
like
way.
that. Yeah, no, it's true. No, I get it. It just comes off a little bit selfish. You think you're being indifferent, but to me, it's actually selfish.
You know what intrigued me
He's
is
definitely selfish.
Yeah, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. That's just always how I kind of see it.
and and that is that's basically how I saw Luke in The Last Jedi, and one of the many reasons that I just don't like the characterization of that character. But one of the interesting things about the Bendu was when he finally disappeared and he told Thrawn that I see. What did he say? One of his last lines. He says, "I see your demise," or "I see how you die," or "I see something like that." And then, what happened at the end there with the space whales. But it's I don't know. I know the Bendu in particular in the series is very kind of neither here or there with a lot of fans, but Andrew obviously has his thoughts on Bendu. I still find him fascinating. I find it's one of those he's one of those characters that I take all of the lines that he says and like try to examine them when it comes to what is he talking about? What does he mean?
Yeah.
Why is he saying this versus that? He's just very intriguing and well written and mystical. And somebody earlier on said bringing Tom Baker in Star Wars in this character was like totally worth it. I mean, he has such an amazing voice. Mm-hmm. His cadence is so powerful, and I love that about Tom Baker.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the Bendu, it's really about what we don't know more than it is about what we do know. Mm-hmm. Pretty much what you were saying, Rose. It's really about the things we don't know about him that makes him interesting.
Yeah, totally agree, Josh. About the freedom to choose. Yeah, and I think one of these days we should probably also get into, and Andrew had a point regarding the whole gray Jedi and good, evil, and gray. And I know in real life there's also kind of a gray area, but maybe there shouldn't be.
I don't know about
We're getting philosophical here on Scarif tonight.
No, Nicole happens to be wearing gray.
Hold on. But I've got the sabers.
Spark of color.
The back's got like a resistance on it, so it's
Very nice.
Would you like to know a thought that I had while I was watching this show?
No.
sure.
Okay, fine. Well, alrighty then. Well, goodbye, everyone. No, one of the things that I kept thinking during this show, which is something that I've been saying during the Book of Boba Fett, is Star Wars really benefits from animation. Because all I kept thinking was, I don't know if I could see this turned into live action. A lot of it, like especially when it got to the space whales, even Bendu and things like that. I was kind of like, man, maybe Star Wars should stick to animation. For some reason, I actually took it more seriously, which you wouldn't think you would, because again,
Right.
people still feel the way they feel about animation. But I actually took this more seriously than the live action.
Yeah,
So
I can
found
totally
that
see.
to be
Yeah.
an interesting thought that I kept having while I was watching it throughout.
And let me ask you this: was it what aspect of it kept you that way, that feeling? Was it because obviously when you go into any movie, fantasy, sci-fi, whatever, you have a certain expectation. Your brain shuts off certain aspects of it,
Right.
and that's obviously it's called a suspension of disbelief.
Correct.
But there's something. You're right. There's something about the storytelling technique that, besides the fact that it's an animated show, it just grips you. It
Yeah,
just grips you because the
does.
story is so involved.
I really don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the voice acting or I really don't. But like I said, with
So-
all the Star Wars properties I have watched live action and now animated, I have never cried as much as I have. Never. I have never. I don't even think I've, really ever cried in a Star Wars. But this is the most I've ever cried for a Star Wars property.
Yeah.
So I will say this to that point. We all remember the original Clone Wars like miniseries, right? From like 2004 or 5, right before Episode 3 came out. They made this series to kind of bridge the gap between 2 and 3. That series was done very, very well. And it benefited. I think that's like the very first like fully animated like Star Wars thing that was like had Jedi and lightsabers and all. Of course, we had like the C-3PO R2-D2 show back in the day and the Ewok show, but nothing quite like that. And I feel that story was awesome. I even go back today and I think they're still on Disney Plus. I'll go back and watch those from time and again. And just the lightsaber fights are way better just because it's animated, And there's something about it. Like you said, Chanty, I can't put my finger on it, but there's something about watching that it just seems to hit you a little bit different than the live action stuff. Maybe it is the suspension of belief. Excuse me, not relief, belief. Misspoke
I
there.
think there's more freedom to do stuff with animation.
Yeah.
Like I
There's stuff
said,
they
I
can do in
can't imagine
animation
a
they
lot
could
of this
never
stuff
do.
being done in live action. There's so much more
Right.
freedom with animation.
So then I pose the question, how do you feel then about seeing our characters from Rebels and Clone Wars coming to live action and coming to life? Because I don't think they're done.
Oh yeah, I don't think they're done either. And I think I think it's interesting too. Right. I think it's interesting too that I mentioned earlier that our brains do kind of go into a certain mode when you watch certain things. Obviously, if we saw some of the characters in Rebels in real life, in live action, we'd be like, something looks weird about that. And our brains are wired in a certain way to accept or reject what we see as reality. And I think, animation, the style, it's very stylistic. The cool thing about it is, Blake, you mentioned the early Clone Wars. Each animated show has its own style, its own look. So you've had the Tarkovsky's, micro series that you mentioned that had that really cool look, and then you've got Clone Wars, which had a very different look than Rebels even, and then we get to the animated show Resistance, which totally had a different look from even the rest of them. So there's something about each show that kind of puts you in that certain mood to accept what is going on. But I think the core concept here, I think, is because the writing is so rich and contextualized between all the characters that it just makes it so enjoyable to watch. It draws you in no matter what's on screen. It draws you in because of the drama, the characters, the story arc, and their development. I think is really cool.
Yeah, I agree. And the music definitely played a huge part for me in this show. I mean, I'm sorry if the music just doesn't sound like John Williams' music, or it isn't John Williams himself. To me, it just doesn't feel like Star Wars.
Kevin Kiner did an amazing job, because there's a couple of episodes that I'm remembering and I'm thinking, I'm like, oh my God, this is like a movie.
Yes. I'm already on my second round of Rebels. That's how much I loved this.
Well, I'll tell you one story or small story arc between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan Kenobi, when they have that look, it's like an episode where they have their standoff. It seemed to take forever for me, in a good way. I mean, it was long, but it wasn't long. It was a 30 or 22-minute episode, but it seemed like it was forever. The music was there, the passion was there, everything was there. It was amazing. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I don't understand why they don't give Kevin Kiner a movie. And I don't know, besides obviously the announcement that John Williams is coming back to do some Obi-Wan Kenobi, I didn't recognize any of the other folks that are scoring the series. I would love to have Kevin Kiner back to do, another Star Wars property. I don't even know if he does, who does... I guess I'll look it up at another time. I don't know who does Bad Batch, but Kevin Kiner hits it out of the ballpark with Rebels for sure.
The Bad Batch score is really good too.
Mm-hmm.
I got to go back and watch.
Yeah,
I dropped off.
It
3
fits the tone of the
episodes.
show very well.
No, but I think because I tried watching it before Clone Wars, before Rebels, I just couldn't get into it. Now that I've seen both, it might make more sense, and I can tell like where things are going.
Mm-hmm.
I might do that now after the stream. Go
Sure.
back and watch that.
It's hit or miss for most people. Some people love
I've
it, some
noticed
people-
it's been very split. Very split.
It is.
Maybe it'll get better. I don't expect much from first seasons of anything, to tell you the truth. So
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think Nicole mentioned the story arc between Ahsoka and Vader. I was ecstatic when Vader showed up and fought with Kanan and Ezra. I was like rooting for Vader. I'm like, kill them! Kill them!
I know he's such
Oh, man.
I know Vader's just such a great character.
And he's such a great character in this show. I love him in this show. He's powerful. He's decisive. He's like, I'm not messing around. And that's Vader to me. I love it.
This is
Posing
peak
to
Vader.
the max.
Yeah.
Hmm.
His fight with Ahsoka and all the dialogue they have is just spot on. I mean, from the point where she's like, "I didn't know if I knew who you were. Now I know who you are," and then you get the mask, some of the mask torn away. You see Anakin's eye, but you see, it's so. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
I can watch that. I can watch
Even
that
the
episode
episode
over
when
and
she
over,
finally
back to back.
connected with him and she realized who
Yes,
it was, and she
right, and
just
she felt
passed
him.
out. It was.
Yeah. And then Vader's line
Amazing.
where, the apprentice lives.
You know what? That's what it is. That's what. As humans, yes, we can be very expressive with our faces, but you can get a little bit more dramatic with animation. So even just seeing her eyes, just some, that's what it is. You can get a little bit more dramatic with the animation. That's
And it's deliberate. I
is.
know, acting has a skill set unto its own, but I think, the deliberateness of animation, I mean, an artist has to draw specifically the emotion that character is trying to convey, and I think it's acting is so, there's a scale that every actor has, the ability to fall under. He's he can really good or not so good, like somewhere in the middle.
Right.
But acting with animation, those artists really have to draw the specific, emotion to kind of draw that out of you. And I think that's one of the reasons that there's no mistaking emotion in animation at this point. It is what it is, and if you don't feel it, you're dead.
And call me naive. I honestly didn't think that Ahsoka was dead at the end of that fight.
She lives.
Yeah, I didn't
I
have
coulda
the
sworn I
benefit
saw
of
her
watching it
walking
while
off.
it aired.
That was
I
the
think you can actually see her shadow.
Right. That's so I didn't think she was dead. I felt stupid when they got finally to the later.
But it was a very
episodes.
minute detail.
Yes. Oh, agreed. 1000.
Yeah.
I have great respect for voice actors.
Hmm.
To just convey
The
emotion
fact
with
that
your
they can
voice
draw-
is not easy.
Hmm.
The fact that they can draw something so deliberately and then the voice actor come in and voice it and it match up. I mean, especially in Rebels, what we're talking about, the way that the voice actor and the artist come together is magnificent. I cannot imagine how they get that much emotion into animation, but they do it, and it's amazing, and I'm here for it.
Yeah. I'm going to put up Vader's comment because this is one of the times that I just got up out of my seat when I saw Darth Vader just on top of his TIE fighter. And I'm like, that is badass. That's what I would do. Very, very
evil, though.
I am.
Man,
I totally am.
This is peak Vader. Rebels is peak
Really
Vader.
is.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I want to see more. I want to see more animated Vader. I feel like we get like a little bit of him at the end of Clone Wars season 7, at the very, very end, which of course
Sure.
it was done after Rebels, and then we get
Right.
that little bit of him in Rebels. But man, I'd love to see like a whole Darth Vader show in animation, just because of
like-
the Rebel stuff.
Sure.
It's-
I
Yeah.
want more Star Wars animation, period. I really do.
Sure. Yeah, more Darth Vader, like on the surface level, sounds great. I'm always afraid that they're going to oversaturate the show with a Darth Vader, and I think, the folks who created Rogue One kind of did that sparingly, and they had kind of the same idea. I just don't want Darth Vader to be watered down.
Right.
If they can keep his character consistent as far as like, the art is great, but when you see, Darth Vader like kneeling over the coffin of Padme and oh, woe is me, and like man, I'm like I'm not into that. I want Vader just to be a cold-blooded, I'm gonna hunt you down. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna get
I don't
you.
want to see that either because I've never really felt that Anakin even really loved
I don't know.
Padme to begin with. So it was more an obsession
like the
for him
depth.
and lustful. So I would not imagine him getting all pouty over it.
And I'm opposite. I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I like that feeling. I want
Yeah.
that
I want to
If it-
sense.
You can't have different.
inside to him. It brings a
Right.
You know what? Because if we always kept like that, I mean, there's no dimension
Sure.
to him.
Right.
No, I get it.
feel like speed, and then it brings us somewhere else. So
I like a sensitive Sith Lord.
yes. Oh wait, you're talking about
If I don't know if any of you guys have read the Darth Vader comics, any of them really, but the ones that I think it's the first ones they wrote, and they take place right after the fall of the Republic, and he's just killing Jedi, getting the Inquisitors together. I would love to see that adapted. I would love to see it because
Is that the one?
Like Rose said, it's like.
Is that the earlier one with that was written by Charles Soule that ends with
Yes, I
Darth
believe it
Vader
is.
25?
Is that Vader's castle?
That's right.
Yeah, the last
Vader's
one.
castle's in there.
Yeah.
Yep, when they're building it. But he is so just ruthless, and he's fresh into his Darth Vader. He's still getting used to the robotic stuff, and he is just a beast. It's peak. It's great. I know I've said peak Darth Vader at least 3 times this episode, but
That's
between
fine,
that
that's
and
fine.
Rebels, this is like
No, but it's true.
amazing Darth Vader.
Absolutely. There's that line, "All I am surrounded by fear and dead men." I love that. That was
Yeah,
Darth Vader
That is
down. But yeah, it's
that was in that. I think that was in that series,
yeah.
that comic series.
So
Oh, that was the first. That was the first one.
I want to talk about Thrawn.
All right,
Yeah.
talk about the blue alien. And speaking of comic books, there's I haven't kept up on my comic books. I know there's a Thrawn series that I think came right after this Darth Vader series, which was Thrawn. It gives him a story. But yeah, talk about Thrawn. What's not going on with Mr. Blue Guy?
I love villains who don't flip their lid every 3 seconds. Him having that voice and just always being, again, cool, calm, and collected, unlike Vader and Kylo that were always, it just feels like more bark than bite. But him being so calm and not knowing what he's going to do because of his calmness, I find to be so much more imposing.
And threatening,
And
because you
very.
don't know, right?
I don't know what your next move is because you're just so calm. And not only that, but then from the lady's perspective, I thought he was a very hot character.
Hey, I'm a straight man. He was a hot character.
I thought he was a really cool, good-looking character. And those eyes, those red eyes, and very, very scary. Very scary.
I mean, he has a really interesting
Thrawn is-
backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Blake.
Yeah. I was gonna say Thrawn's like the disappointed dad. Like you don't know what he's gonna say next. Like it's like when your dad sometimes like lashes out at you. You know what
Yeah.
you're getting, but it's those times where your dad just walks in. And he's like, "I'm so disappointed in you,"
For sure.
and you don't know what he's gonna say next. And it's like that's the scary thing, and that's Thrawn.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what he's gonna say, but you know that he's thought about this. He's 20 steps ahead, and he's gonna get you every single time.
Very calculating. Very
that's
smart. I
Thrawn,
love
in a
smart
nutshell.
villains. Yeah, I love smart villains.
Yeah, he'll take a look and examine. He's the epitome of know your enemy. Obviously we had the story arc where Thrawn kind of learns about Hera's culture and uses that against her, and et cetera, et cetera. So I think those are kind of the best kind of characters when they get in each other's business, especially the antagonists with the hero, or in this case the Hera.
Oh boy. Need a rim shot there.
I thought you said something else. Sorry.
Whoa.
Oh,
Scare
Not
factor.
scare after dark yet.
Yeah, but so what else are we forgetting? Oh, and obviously I mentioned that early on this show was very kid friendly. Obviously, it got really stronger and darker as the seasons progressed. I remember, when Darth Maul shows up with some Inquisitors, and you had, or am I confusing Rebels with Clone Wars during this? There was some really graphic death scenes between Maul and the Inquisitors. I can't remember.
I had that thought a lot watching this show. I was like, this is for
Yeah,
kids?
that was Rebels.
I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, they went there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there were some major dark hits in this show, especially later on. You know, you had the whole situation with. I want to talk about Ezra and his exploration of the dark side. I think there's one episode that really, took me aback. I guess they were trying to escape from some stormtroopers, but Ezra forced. I think we lost Blake. Ezra forced stormtroopers to kill themselves, and that was really dark.
Yeah.
With the chicken walkers, the ATSTs there.
Mm-hmm.
I think. What do you guys think about him exploring the dark side? And I know there have been characters in the past that want to maybe tap into the dark side to use the power that the dark side instills in you to vanquish the enemy. But as Yoda says, once you start down that path, forever will it dominate your future. So are we to believe that maybe Ezra decided on his own not to do it, or if we see him again, are we going to see a little bit more of that?
I don't know.
And Blake,
I didn't feel it. I didn't feel that way. I think he'll stay on the lighter side.
Mm-hmm.
But nevertheless, I think it was a really great. Again, I think it was a really great teaching moment for younger audiences to be able to show Ezra in that light and have him, explore that, but just really back off because you realize that maybe that's not what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I definitely think it was his own choice, and clearly wasn't susceptible enough, to just switch over. And I'm just the kind of person that I don't believe in extremes. I don't believe in going one way or the other. So the fact that he wanted to explore that and was able to kind of deny it, I am totally okay with that. I think it's actually good to kind of explore a little bit of darkness in your life. It's just, it's all on you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, every Jedi, it's hard to believe that not every Jedi at least came close to something dark in their life. I mean, imagine just your day-to-day life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every Jedi at some point had a brush with the dark side, whether they chose to give into it or not.
Right.
There's always that option. I mean, it's about a choice, and I believe there's always that option. And Ezra he didn't know who Maul was. It's totally innocent, and he kind of captivated. That's kind of what the dark side does. It like lures you in with like promises of greatness and power, and I'm going to help you save your loved ones, and I'm going to help you do this and that. And it seems like a good thing, and it seemed like a good thing to Ezra at first, and then the more he got into it, he realized, oh wait, this is the dark side. I can't do that. But seeing that story arc, it really it's more real than I think anything we've seen with the dark side and Jedi up to that point. I think it's more real than anything we see in the movies. Like, it's not just light and dark. Every person has a certain amount of light and dark in themselves, and whether you give into it or not. Like, I think that's kind of the message here. And I love that they explored that in the show.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Ezra, yes, each Jedi, they have the choice. Do I go light? Do I go dark? And even in our real lives, every day we face which situation and how we're going to take it. And
Chanty chooses evil every morning.
Always. Violence every day.
Or coffee. But yes,
It's each their own.
It's good to see that they actually encapsulate that inside of this series, so everybody of all ages can go, yeah, you can be one thing, but you can be tempted by another, and then choose to go back towards the one way, or choose to go with the other. And good note about Maul, how he did tempt him and allure him, and it's sometimes the best thing or the worst things come in like sheep's clothing. It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. You think it's one thing, and then once it's revealed, then you have to decide, do I continue on, or do I avenge this situation and go back?
I found it to be very realistic.
Right.
Right.
good storytelling there.
And
And
this,
that
Right.
thing we can all relate to. Which
Exactly.
is what I love.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And going back to
and
something
this is
that
some
we
of my favorite Maul.
It is, yeah. It really is. I think, Maul, a lot of people give, Lucas and Filoni crap for bringing him back after he was chopped in half. But I think, even after that, his character growth and arc through the series was just phenomenal.
He ended up being one of my favorites. And I already liked
yeah.
all from the beginning, from Phantom Menace, even though we didn't get much.
Much.
But still,
Right.
I was very happy to see this character. And since I never watched it and didn't know how they went about the whole thing after he got sliced in half, I was very excited for that when he finally showed up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we mentioned how George Lucas pulls from history and religion and things like that. You talked about the choice between good and evil. You've had that temptation. I think it harkens back to George's original reason for creating this fable, this franchise, to give hope to a new generation back in the late 60s, early 70s. To create a new fairy tale, to create new lessons to be learned. So I think Rebels is a really great representation of kind of George Lucas's I don't know, I don't want to say teachings, but I guess his philosophy in storytelling and bringing fables together to teach kids of all ages what the right thing to do is, while showing him, some entertainment factor there. But yeah, this is really cool.
Yeah.
What else about Rebels?
I don't want to talk about Kanan.
You don't.
I
How
had
can
to
you not?
pause. I had to pause. That literally
Yeah.
destroyed me on
There's
such a level
some-
that I can't even describe.
Some very powerful moments.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
was in.
The thing about Kanan that really speaks to me is that he becomes a Jedi Knight through this. I mean, Yoda makes him a Jedi Knight at, I think it was the Temple of Lothal, right? Were they at Lothal at that time? Whatever. I guess it really doesn't matter. They're in a Jedi temple. And he makes Kanan a Jedi Knight. Kanan has an attachment to Hera, to Ezra. Like they're Padawan and Master, basically. But there's more there. I mean, they're attached,
There
kind of
is.
like Obi-Wan and Anakin were. I mean, there's an attachment there. He's attached to Zeb, Chop. I mean, all these people, Sabine even. He's attached to all these people. He has all these attachments. But he is still made a Jedi Knight.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. I
Me
think that's
too.
awesome.
Me
Like,
too.
this is the way it should be, or I felt it should have been.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Especially after watching Clone Wars and feeling a little different now towards the Jedi and seeing their arrogance through the whole thing. Because I don't feel like that's conveyed enough in the prequels. But then after watching Clone Wars and then seeing how Kanan is represented, I was like, yeah, I agreed 100%. This is exactly how the Jedi should have been.
Mm-hmm.
And I would actually venture to say that Kanan, it was more father and son, and
Sure.
probably more of what Anakin needed from Obi-Wan. But
Right.
it is what it is.
And or Qui-Gon. I think
Yeah.
the death of Qui-Gon really set Anakin on a very different path. I think Brad and I have talked about this before. I think, Obi-Wan was very by the book and Qui-Gon was a little bit more liberal, but he was probably, there's a reason why when he was asked to join the Jedi Council, he refused. He said, no, thanks. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole podcast in itself, talking about Qui-Gon Jinn. I mean,
Oh, please.
his philosophies outweighed the Jedi. Like he felt like, yes, every Jedi wants to be part of the council, I feel like. But he said, no, I just want to do what the Force wants me to do. I am
Right.
totally invested in the living Force.
Right.
And that's what he lives his life by. And I can respect that out of him. And then, like I said, I could go on about
It was like an
Qui-Gon Jinn
office.
for
It was like
days.
he didn't want that office life. He didn't want the office politics of
He wants to be
being a
out in the
Jedi.
field. Yeah.
Master Windu, I don't want the corner cubicle.
Can you imagine?
Take a seat, Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
But what a fantastic show. I did enjoy how they introduced the Darksaber and getting more backstory on that. Although I will say, Sabine was my least favorite character.
I do like
Really?
I thought she was a little boring. I don't know why. I didn't like her very much. Not
Yeah,
in
let's talk
comparison
about-
to
I
Hera.
think her character ramps up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He really
maybe.
didn't do much for me, even by the
Yeah.
end. I don't know why.
I liked the Mandalorian arc with her, with the dark saber. I thought that was,
enjoy learning about that. Yes.
and of course, I was right back to it. The minute Mandalorian went there, I'm like, I was right back into Rebels watching that arc. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I must eat up all of this and figure out things. And
Yeah.
you know, there are just some things about Sabine that she is her own girl, you know, and she is her
She
own
is.
person, and she's not afraid of painting or touching up or doing whatever she chooses to do.
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah, I did
so.
like that about her. She was very
Yeah.
independent, so that I did admire.
Yeah, I like her originality from the beginning. I mean, it shines through the whole series, and that's great. But that's like her only shtick until the Mandalorian arc, like we're saying, when she interacts
Right.
with her family and she's got the dark saber. That is like the best Sabine we get in this series, and it's great. It's great stuff. But other than that, she's a support character, and I'm anyone not really Ezra or even like Kanan. They're kind of supporting characters in this show. I feel like Hera. I love Hera. She's an awesome character, but is she that much different than she is from the beginning to the end? Does she go through a ton of growth? No, she's the mom, and she stays that way pretty much throughout the series. At least to me, it seems like.
Sure.
Zeb, does Zeb really have character development? No, he is just the brash, get in there, shoot him up kind of guy. Chopper, he's just a psychotic droid the entire time. So most of these characters are just supporting Kanan and Ezra. And I think that's
I
how
can
it's
see that.
meant to be. And Sabine, I think, got the most development other than Ezra and Kanan.
Ezra. I can see that.
I have to throw out this quote though from Sabine because I feel that it's so important because it's like the Red 5 network that we have. I know it's one of my favorites, and every time I see this quote, I'm like going, "That's like us. That's like our Red 5," and that is she says, "We're a crew, a team. In some ways, we're a family." And I'm like going, "Did she predict our Red 5 family?" I think they wrote this quote just for us.
You know?
They saw it through the Force.
Yeah.
Yep.
They did.
Totally. I totally
We'll see.
agree with you.
Sabine's mom, when they first showed her, oh God, I wanted to kill her.
Oh my god!
yeah.
Sabine's
You
mom,
smack- you
I
just-
wanted to
Wow.
deck her.
Yes. Yes.
You just want to put the Will Smith on her just one time.
Yeah. Real. Ugh, she frustrated me.
Okay.
But looking forward to, I guess, to more of some of these characters. Hopefully, they'll show up in the Ahsoka series. I know,
God, I hope so.
Ezra is out there, and I think Lunar Girl said that Sabine is going to be needed to find Ezra. They have a connection.
Oh, definitely.
Totally agree. So looking forward to, it's going to be a weird thing to see them jump into live action with anything. I know we've seen we've seen Ahsoka already. We see Saw Gerrera jump into live action. Yeah. So it's going to be good. It's going to be interesting. Looking forward to it. One last question. We have one question from Megan. Which member of the Ghost Crew do you think you all are? Great question.
I'm Hera. I'm definitely Hera. Just based on, the office life that I had, I was always told that I was the motherly one, patching everybody up. My drawer was like CVS. I had Band-Aids. I had all sorts of stuff. I was always at the ready to heal somebody, to help somebody. I was always making sure everyone was okay, and that's just my personality.
Very nice.
Also, very much Hera. Even before I became a caregiver to my grandparents, that says it. There you go, caregiver. I used to work. I mean, I was like Chanty. I actually had a drawer, my coworker and I did, and we kept snacks. Yes, so we kept snacks in one section. We kept first aid in one section. I mean, we're Girl Scouts, so we were there. We were ready to go. And so when I first started getting into it, wasn't that long ago. I was just like, oh my gosh, I really like this Hera character. And the more and more I explored her, I'm like going, I'm totally like this. That space mom in a way. Minus the piloting. I mean, because that is what makes her a badass. I mean, she's pretty awesome in that sense. So, and also special note, they also added her into the Bad Batch, so that was pretty cool too. So I'm curious if we'll see her in live action. I kind of hope we do. And one quick thing, because we haven't really talked about this, and that was that Kanan and Hera had a son, and I am still curious if we will end up seeing him in live action, because anything is possible. Sure. Anything's possible. Yeah. That is Jason Sedula. So I'm just curious if we'll see that happen. You never know.
They got a little jiggy with it.
They did.
They did at some point. I wonder when it happened. That's what I want to know. When did it happen?
Right. There's always time.
There's a deleted scene somewhere out there.
Time, all right.
You know.
Jeez,
that's another
flying,
thing I
flying
loved.
Through space ain't like Dustin Crops.
I loved that it wasn't in your face. I did love that their romance was not in your face, that they kept it professional. They had to. They didn't want to have the risk, but I knew from season 1, I was like, oh, these two are like totally together. But I loved it.
Star-crossed.
It was done very well.
It was within them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
So
Megan says I'm more like Chopper, and I could not agree more. I didn't even think about that. And Blake, you're so snarky and sarcastic. Yeah, I could see that.
And Blake, to really answer your question, we would have to be on Scarif After Dark. I mean, really, to go there, we'd have to be up late.
That's right. That's right.
Blake, which member of the Ghost Crew do you think you are?
Man, I'm Zeb. I want to shoot him up, man. That's all. No, I'm just.
I could totally see that.
I don't know. I feel like I'm more of a Kanan. Like, I like to put into people. I like to invest my time into developing people, and at my job, I'm one of those people. I put into others and try to get them to where they need to be, and really facilitate that. And I feel like that's something that Kanan does very well, even when he feels that he's not equipped to do it. Because, I mean, even those early seasons, really through the entire series, he doubts his own ability to teach Ezra. I feel like I do that sometimes. But I really feel a kindredship with Kanan and his struggles. And he's that guy who puts so much into Ezra and does an amazing job at it. He's just real with him. He gives him what he needs, even though he doesn't feel like he's good enough to do it. And I don't know. Kanan's awesome. I hope I'm like Kanan at least.
That's cool. That's cool. I was trying to think who of the Ghost Crew that I most resemble, and I think each of us have a little bit of each of them within our own psyche. But Lunar Girl has a comment in the chat which I'm going to have to kind of totally agree. And I know he's not a Ghost Crew member, but I think I am a little Thrawn. Because I like to examine things and kind of like, understand things. And,
you can be a little stoic.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't actually know what you're thinking. So that's actually pretty good.
I can see that. Yeah. So thank you.
Rose got it all in order,
like Ezra.
So thank you for that, Lunar Girl.
Oh,
totally.
That's too funny.
Very nice. Excellent. So any final thoughts on Rebels, the series? I think, it definitely is worth a rewatch if you haven't seen it. And Chanty, thank you so much. I know you were late in the game, but I'm really so glad that you enjoyed it. I think, we were getting almost play by play when you were watching it in the chat, and then Kanan came up and you were like, whoa.
Yep, I remember that.
And it happens all at once.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see it coming until that episode.
And that's what it was. And then all of a sudden you see the explosion. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. I literally yell, oh my God. And then just water.
That whole episode is just like he's working towards something, and everything's just a little bit uncomfortable. And you're like, why is everything uncomfortable? And then it happens, and you're like, oh my God, that's what it was.
I saw it coming. I saw it coming with the way he was speaking throughout the entire episode. I'm like, he is going to die. And even then when it happened, I was like, this is intense.
Yeah.
But I love this show. I haven't loved an animated series like this since the 1992 Batman, which to me is like gold standard.
That's awesome.
Love it.
So I am so glad you watched it and experienced it. Wonderful stuff.
Better late than never.
Better late than never. Excellent. Guys, thank you so much for joining Chanty and myself, Blake and Nicole, and everyone in the chat. You guys have been so wonderful. As usual, we have the best viewers and followers and subscribers and everybody that kind of came in and said hello. Love it. What is up with everyone else on the panel here? I'm going to go with Blake. And where can folks find you, and what is up with Dork Wars coming up?
So you can find us at Dork Wars Podcast on Twitter, at Dork Wars Podcast on Twitter. Our Facebook page is Dork Wars the Podcast. We actually just launched a website this week, dorkwarspodcast.com. Yeah, it's really cool. Grant did it all. He asked me some questions and I answered them, and we have a website. It's cool. You can find like our merch store, our episodes of our podcast. Everywhere that we're at is on dorkwarspodcast.com. You can also look at our link tree. Just type in Dork Wars link tree. But coming up, we should have an episode releasing Tuesday about Moon Knight, the premiere. So a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. We recorded that last night. I guarantee you guys will like it. Hopefully, you'll laugh at least at our ineptitude at Moon Knight.
It's okay. I didn't know anything about the character either.
And then next week, that's right. So next week we are doing a live Saturday night right after Scare Live. With Joker Voice is going to be on. And we have Star Wars Dinks from TikTok. It's a puppet. We have a puppet coming on Dork Wars Podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Dork Wars Live next week. So
that's funny.
And he's amazing. So check that out.
Awesome.
Very nice. Very nice. Nicole, wonderful Nicole from Rogue One Radio. What is going on with you guys over there?
Well, I'd like to make a special note. It is Saturday night, and we're having a blast. And I love the fact that Blake has already set us up for next Saturday night. From like Hera to Dork Wars, it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be lit.
We already have plans, you guys. Like, anybody ever
awesome.
said, "You got plans Saturday night?" Yeah, we got plans. For me, myself, and I'm Nicole. Of course, Peace loves Star Wars on Twitter, but I'm, of course, a part of the Rogue One Radio podcast. And this coming week, we just ended our I can't even talk.
Cool.
Batman series, and that was really fun. But we're about to dip into Moon Knight also as the series goes. So we'll be doing a live this Tuesday. But between now and Tuesday, I will be with Miss Chanty. Her and I and Danny from Comics and Cosmetics, we will be on after the weekend playing some trivia.
Oh, nice.
Tomorrow night's that Monday. It's one of the two.
It's Monday.
Nights,
It's Monday.
It's after the weekend, and I know that it's just some days they just get all like bunched
all mixed up.
I know.
We know it's Saturday, but
Yeah.
So I'm excited because that will be a lot of fun. So I've got some fun stuff coming.
Woohoo! Excellent.
Duke was winning.
There you go. There you go.
There you go. Excellent. And Chanty, I know we got a couple of episodes that are in the works. We've got some new stuff coming up. We just dropped our 5 most influential movies of all time with Andrew at Science Fictionary. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Andrew.
Where can folks find you? What are you doing?
Well, you can find me both on Twitter and Instagram at SelenaKyle29. And as Nicole mentioned, we're going to be on with After the Weekend on Monday. And then Wednesday is Ladies Take Over Escape.
Yes,
Nicole, I cannot believe you forgot that.
I just mixed up Monday and Sunday. So
Kelly has been given the keys to the kingdom, and we're gonna wreck it. And
I've got so much to watch this week.
And then Thursday, or I believe Friday, I believe his name is Bob, the burger guy or something.
Oh, yeah.
yes,
I will actually be on
Bob.
with him. We're going to be talking about more representation in Hollywood. So
Cool.
I'm looking forward to that. And then I am trying to do an episode. You're giving me the keys to the kingdom because I'm going to try and do a episode on my favorite show, Big Bang Theory.
awesome.
Very nice.
Ooh.
Very nice.
Oh, that perked Blake right up.
If you don't mind my saying, I am so excited that you're you're going to be on Bob the Burger. I've been on his show. We just had him on Rogue One Radio about a month.
I saw that was great stream.
And I love the fact that we're going to continue to talk about it because it's not talked enough. So kudos. I'm excited, and I'll be listening or If you're doing it live, I'll be there.
Yeah, and as much as I didn't want to bring this up, but after the whole Will Smith thing, and what really pissed me off the most was overshadowing Coda,
Yeah.
a whole movie about the deaf community. I will most likely be bringing it up on that episode.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome.
That Will Smith.
Very nice.
Don't even get me
Very
started.
nice.
Right?
You know, Chanty, for your episode on Big Bang Theory, you really need to DM Toby Price because
I know,
really
no,
was,
I will. His
for
face
sure.
lit up on when I talked about. I want to get
Excellent.
into, is it a good or a bad stereotype of nerds? That's really what I want to delve into. So should be fun.
Excellent. Thank you guys again in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us on today's Scarif Live tonight, Saturday night. We're going to have another one next Saturday. Well, let's see what we can talk about and who we can talk with. We've got a whole bunch of friends. Check us out on Scarif Podcast on the Twitterverse and everywhere you get your podcasts. But also check us out with the rest of our wonderful content creators over at Red 5 Network. We've got a bio link. Check out the Red 5 Network Twitter page and then head over to the pinned tweet and you'll find all 37 podcasts on there. Take a look at all of us. Go pantless. Go pantless over to the Red 5 chat and see what's going on. But excellent. Guys, thank you so much. I am going to say goodnight to everybody. Blake, Nicole, Chanty, love you all. May the force be with you. And that is the Scuttlebutt.